guys are here every week, I just look forward to it, because I'm not coming up here to teach you, I'm coming up here to have a convo, right? To have a conversation. And it's just been cool hearing all the cool stories that we've been going through this series the past couple weeks, and I've just been hearing the leaders saying that you guys are really diving in and that it's been such a good time. So as we've been going through the series, remember last week we talked about Disney shows and Nickelodeon, like old stuff like Drake and Josh and stuff, and we talked about how in those shows, something that should be very simple is made very, very, very complicated, right? And the first week we talked about superheroes a lot, and we talked about, remember I said it was a hard trivia question, but it was literally just superheroes save people. We talked about that, and this week I want to go back to superheroes one more time. Sound good? So, next slide. This is a superhero. This is to the keyboard. Just go to the right or the left. It's something. Cool. Oh, something happened. There you go. So that is Iron Man. Just kidding. That is Spider-Man. So this is from the first Spider-Man movie. There's been 19 of them. So the first ones. Has anybody seen those super old ones? Yeah. Let's go. Real OGs, right? So not Tom Holland, not was that Andrew Garfield, but that guy, Toby. So these movies are really, really good. So basically, what happens is in the movie, Spider-Man gets bit by a spider, right? And he gets these Spider-Man powers, right? Obviously, Spider-Man. But what happens at the beginning is, he literally has no idea what he's supposed to do or how he is supposed to use his powers. Go to the next one. This is literally my dude. Look at him. He's like, ugh. So he's walking around, and he is on buildings, and there's a super funny scene where he's trying to figure out how to shoot web, and he goes and he's like, web go, and he's like, bah, and you know what I'm talking about? It's so funny, dude. That's that comedy is underappreciated. But he's just trying to figure out what he's supposed to do. And there's one scene where he goes and he joins a boxing place and he learns how to box, and he's like, I got these powers and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with them or what this is supposed to look like. He's so confused. So let's bring it in, right? What we've been talking about at youth group just the past couple weeks, not Spider-Man, but we've been talking about salvation. And the series we've been in is called Saved. And we've learned so much about our salvation. We learned that we deserve death, but that Jesus offers us salvation as a free gift that we don't deserve. And then last week, we learned that it's actually pretty simple, but we overcomplicate our salvation. And that we're actually told in the Bible that in order to be saved, it's not to do a bunch of things or follow a bunch of rules, but it's actually just to confess and believe in Jesus and you will be saved. And that was such an awesome thing that we were able to talk about. It was simple, not complicated, like we make everything. Got any overthinkers in here? Yup, we make things complicated. But our salvation is not. And the topic of this week, next slide, is I'm saved. Now what? And obviously, if you're not following Jesus right now, that's fine. This still applies to you, because this is going to tell you a lot about what a Christian's supposed to do, what it's supposed to be like following Jesus. Because just like Spider-Man, we've gotten this incredible gift. We have been saved, but a lot of us don't fully understand what that means for us, or even what we're supposed to do. Like, oh, I'm saved, Jesus died for me, now what? What am I supposed to do? What's going on here? And just like Spider-Man, we're walking around going, trying to make stuff happen and trying to live like a Christian, but it can be really complicated. And just like Spider-Man, we can feel like we're just trying to figure out how to jump off a building, but don't actually do that. That's really bad. But that's what he did in the movie. So, now, something I really want to nail down here. I think it's so important when we're walking into this topic a little bit of becoming saved. When you confess and believe, remember that was last week, confess and believe. When you do that, what you're not doing is you're not just reciting something. Like, being saved is not just reciting a prayer. So if that was true, I would be like, okay, I'm about to save you all, read after me, boom, you're saved, I can quit my job and go home, right? We're good. But no, I would never quit my job because it's the best job in the world. But that's not how it works. If it was that easy, right, we could all be saved super quick. But being saved, it's still simple, right? It's still believing and confessing. But the thing about it is in your heart, right? It's not something that you can just say and get it done. You have to actually surrender your life to Jesus, right? You actually have to believe that in your heart. It can't just be a quick ticket to get what you want, you know? So our passage kind of builds on that. And it tells us, our passage today, what I'm supposed to do once I'm a Christian, how I'm supposed to live. So we're going to be reading from 1 John 2, and this is like one of the best things ever. So we're going to be reading two sections from it, verses 2 through 6, and then verses 9 through 11. And if you have a chance later, I would really encourage you to go home and read this whole chapter. It is crazy and really practical. So let's read this. This talks about how do you know if someone's saved, like what their life will look like. Or, like we said, I'm saved, now what, right? So let's read this next. Oh, there's really little text, so like try to follow along, but I'll like read it. So, we got it. My dear children, I write this to you so you will not sin. But if anybody does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one. He is the atoning sacrifice for our sins, and not only for ours, but also for the sins of the whole world. We know that we have come to know him if we keep his commands. Whoever says, I know him, but does not do what he commands is a liar, and the truth is not in that person. But if anyone believes his word, love for God is truly made complete in them. This is how we know we are in him. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. Anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or a sister is still in the dark. Anybody who loves their brother and sister lives in the light, and there is nothing in them to make them stumble. But anyone who hates a brother or a sister is in the darkness and walks around in the dark. They do not know where they're going because the darkness has blinded them. So that was a passage from 1 John 2. So okay, we can get into some of this nitty-gritty stuff. Some of the stuff we've been talking about the past week. Not that it was simple, but it was a lot more cut and dry about our salvation. But there's some stuff to look at here and to really dig into. So let's break this down. So how do we know if someone is saved? How do you know? It says, they follow God's commands. Right? Now you're probably thinking, well, obviously I'm trying to do that, but I can't do that perfectly. I keep messing up. But I try to do it right, but I don't. Right? Boom. So if you say that, that's actually one of the ways I know that you're saved. If you say, I'm trying to follow God's commands, but I keep messing up, I keep having a hard time with this. So I just want to look at this first part right at the top. It says, because remember I said we got to try to follow God's commands, but can we do that perfectly? No. But it says, if you do sin, we have an advocate in Jesus. If you sin, you can kind of change that to when you sin, because we're all going to. We have an advocate in Jesus, which tells me about this whole thing, because we're told to follow God's command, but we can't do it perfectly, so we have Jesus. But what it tells me is that desire is what matters, right? Like, do you want to? Do you want to follow God's commands? Do you want to love others in the incredible way that He did? Do you want to be like Jesus? And that's more what he is talking about here. So what happens after you are saved, right? If you truly confessed and believed, you will follow God's commands. Not perfectly. Jesus is our advocate, but you will have that desire. So the big question here would be, what does it look like to follow God's commands? Because that sounds like one of those things, follow God's commands. It's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. That sounds very confusing. But this verse actually tells us exactly what it looks like to follow God's commands. It boils it down like making some mac and cheese. So, next verse, next slide, this is what it says. You all good. Whoever claims to live in him must live like Jesus did. There we go. Whoever claims in him must live like Jesus did. So what do you do after you're saved? You live like Jesus. You serve like Jesus. You love like him. You trust God like him. You spend time with God like Jesus did. And so much more. And the cool thing is, this isn't just about following all the rules, but it's about letting Jesus rule your life, right? Like letting him be in charge. Not following rules, but letting him rule. And I know this can feel very hard and very overwhelming sometimes, and I know we have a lot of thoughts like, how could I ever do this? This is so hard. I'm only human. That's a song. But the awesome thing here, I can do that again later if you don't know. The awesome thing here is that when you're saved, the cool part is that There's actually something spiritual that happens. Because we can have that thought, I'm not going to say, but you can have that thought of, I'm only human, right? I'm only human, I can't do this on my own. But the cool thing, and when you are saved, something spiritual happens within you. And this is one of my favorite verses from 2 Corinthians 5:17. And this is something that happens when we become saved by Jesus. Next verse. Boom. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he or she, right? He or she is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. What does that mean? It means when you are saved, you are changed. You're really changed. Like actually, something spiritual happens within you. You are a new person. You are no longer defined by the actions of your past anymore, or even what people have done to you in the past anymore. You're not defined by that, but now you're defined by who Jesus is and what he has done for you. You are a new creation. All the dirt has been wiped clean, and you are a new creation, and it's so good, and it gives us a lot of power, right? So this is where we start to run into a little bit of problems sometimes, when we're thinking about this. Like, I'm a new creation. Oh, Jesus has advocated for me. And a lot of people kind of come to the conclusion of, okay, I'm saved. Jesus advocates for when I mess up. Oh, I can do whatever I want. A lot of people come to that conclusion. Like, I was doing all this crazy stuff on the weekend before I became saved. I'm saved now, so I'm covered. I'm going to keep doing all that crazy stuff that I was doing before. So the question would be, like, is it cool to keep doing that stuff? No, it's definitely not. So why not? Because, I'm saved, right? I'm saved. Why does it matter? Well, the thing about it, and the Bible talks a lot about this, but we cannot take advantage of the grace that God gives us. And honestly, guys, if you are truly saved, if you have really understood and accepted these things, remember we said before, it's not just a repeating thing, but it's actually a heart thing. If you fully have understood what Jesus has done for you, you actually won't want to do that stuff anymore. Why? Because you will be a new creation. And the thing about it is, you're probably still going to do that. Like if you partied all the time before you became a Christian, you can't expect to 100% stop partying all the time, because that's still going to be really hard for you. You might go back to it. But the thing about it is, what do you want? What are your desires? Because I remember when I was in high school, I messed up a lot, but I remember when I would do something wrong or I would sin, I wasn't happy about it. I was actually kind of mad. I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to hurt people that way. I don't want to lie anymore. I don't want to be doing that stuff I know is against God. I want to move forward. So that's kind of one of the ways we know too, if we are new creations. We're still going to mess up, but when we hurt someone, do we say, I got them? Or do we say, no, I actually don't want to hurt them anymore. I don't want to live that way. I want to, like this verse, walk like Jesus walks, right? So it can be really hard. But I think it's so powerful for us to understand what it truly means to be saved, and that we are new creations. And so much of this is about love, right? It's about love. Why am I following Jesus? Why am I walking with him? Why am I turning away from that stuff? Why am I a new creation? Because Jesus loved me first. Because he gave his life for me. Because I actually love him. Now, I don't feel like I have to do these things. I actually want to be more like him because of how much he has loved me. So we can do these things because we're new creations. And another aspect of this that I wish I had more time to talk about is the Holy Spirit. Right? When you are saved, you receive the Spirit of God inside you that will help you to live like Jesus, love like Jesus, and it will actually help you to walk with Jesus and help you to follow God's commands. And the cool thing about it is we are not alone. Like Jesus, we talked about the church. Remember, we talked about how Jesus left us his Spirit in order that we could be the church. So, as I summarize this, I just want to go to that first passage. You don't have to change any slides, but I'll just read this here. We know that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. Whoever says, I know him, but does not do what he commands is a liar, and the truth is not in that person. But if anybody obeys his word, love for God is truly made complete in them. And this is how we know we are in him. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. Part of this, guys, is it going to be easy? No. Are we going to mess up? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. 100% yes. So what should you do after you're saved? You should follow God's commands and you should live and love like Jesus. How can you do this? You can do this because you have the Spirit of God within you and you are a new creation. And why should you do this? Because Jesus loved you so much, and if you are saved, you love Jesus and understand that the life that he offers is way better than any life on this earth. So, I love you guys. It's been so good to hang out with you and talk about being saved and what that looks like. If you have been asking questions about this, I would love to talk to you. If you are realizing that you're not saved and you want to put your faith in Jesus, I would love to talk to you. If you feel like this is stupid and God's not even real, I would love to talk to you. I love you guys, and I want to be a resource. The leaders love you so much, and they want to talk to you as well. And if you did put your faith in Jesus, let me know, because that's incredible, and we can celebrate. So next week, we're talking about dating, because it's like Valentine's Day and stuff, so that's going to be a fun one. I got a lot of interesting stories I could tell, but I probably shouldn't. So that's what we're talking about next week. It is going to be a great time. Cool. We're going to go to small groups now, and